I'll go into business with anybody. You ask me to go into business and I'm just gonna say like, okay, let's do it. But you have to be prepared to outwork me. And you being able to outwork me is impossible. It just can't happen.
Is Jiu-Jitsu just about fighting, or is it about becoming better at life? I sat down with Casey Halstead, owner of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu Las Vegas. We discussed ownership, fatherhood, what it takes to become a champion on and off the mats, and why most people fail before they even start. And then if you could say your name, just like give it like 3 seconds, and then.
My name is Casey Halstead. I'm the owner of 10th Planet Las Vegas.
What is the primary reason most businesses and fighters fail before they even start off?
I think that most people fail in business and fighting because they just are not committed long enough over time. A lot of people say they want to do something and they believe that they actually want to do it, but when it comes down to it, they're not willing to put in the work that it takes to get it done. A lot of people have said this in the past. It's not an original thought of mine, but everybody wants to be a boss until there's time to do boss stuff. And people build workarounds, and you just can't do that when you're trying to be successful. It takes consistent hard work over a long period of time.
What specific principles did you bring from the corporate world to make this gym so successful when others fell?
That's a funny question, because one of the things I did when I first opened is I was counter corporate culture. I was like, okay, whatever we did in corporate America, I'm gonna try to make it as least corporate as possible. But in that, now looking back, I didn't realize how much corporate culture actually infiltrated me as a person. So I'm really good at building talent. That's what I do, and recognizing talent. Many years ago, I had a job opportunity, a promotion, and the guy beneath me wasn't ready to take my job. So they ended up outsourcing from Texas and bringing a guy in. I lost a promotion. And I remember on that day, I said, that's never gonna happen to me again. So one of the strengths that I have is just seeing somebody talented. Even on the first day, I have a student named Matt Salinas. And on his very first day of training, I saw him walk in. I saw the way that he engaged everybody and his demeanor. And I was like, oh man, this guy's incredible. And I told him on that day, you will work for me, and one day you will open your own gym and you're gonna be very successful. And now he owns 10th Planet Mission Viejo, and he's killing it.
How does the lean business model and personal financial restraint translate into the success of 10th Planet Las Vegas?
Yeah, so I was introduced to lean. It's a manufacturing model from Japan, and they instituted it at my previous career. And one of the things that they did is even if you're talking about moving widgets from one conveyor belt to the other, if there's 3 feet that you need to walk to move one from one place to the other, they try to shorten that gap, and then they scale that out over the course of a human's working career, and they save millions of steps, which in turn saves payroll, and payroll directly impacts bottom line. And so as a business owner, one of the things that I've done is I've been able to pare away all the stuff that's not necessary. You'll see it in the gym business a lot. You have a jiu-jitsu academy, and they're doing yoga and kickboxing, and they're not very specific, and they're not very controlled. And so one of the things that I've done is we're no-gi, and we just stick to that, and we make sure that we deliver a great product, and we cut out all the fat. It's very simple. It's one membership. I don't manage multiple memberships. It's unlimited. It is what it is, and we're gonna give it to you at a high level, and we're gonna cut all the fat. So what's going on? Now let's have a little bit of weight. Okay, let's go 1, 2.
How do you define success?
For me, success is measured on a couple of different levels, right? So you have financial success. People say money is not important, but for me, money buys free time. So I have an interest in making money only so I can have the free time to raise my kids. And so success in business generates the flexibility and the income that it takes for me to hire somebody to come in and do a job that typically, if I wasn't successful, I would have to do, which gives me the free time back. And I'm a firm believer that children spell love T-I-M-E. And so I feel like I need to deliver a lot of time to my kids, and success in business directly correlates with that. And then real success is just finding happiness in everything you do. And I have a saying in here that I leave the people I love to do what I love, to go back home to who I love. And so for me, that is true success. And I think that people conflate the two all the time, and they're personally unhappy, but financially successful. And so to me, I wouldn't categorize that as success. I think it's a holistic approach to your life. Being successful in business can be utilized to make you successful in your personal life. And so success for me is just overall happiness. If you can find happiness, and you can, I tell my kids all the time, like, they're not allowed to tell anybody that I have a job. I do not have a job, but I work my ass off every day. And for me, that was a huge change in my thinking from when I did have a job, even though I loved it and the people I worked for were incredible. But once I defined myself as not having a job, I never had a reluctancy to come in and work. And I take that approach with my family too. Like, I actually want to be with them, so I don't feel like I'm being tied down by them. So success is just an overall holistic happiness on every level.
It sounds like that can be applied to everything, every job, every hobby, and everything you do. It's universally applicable.
Yes, I agree too. It all starts with you. You know, I lost my dad in 2023, and we had a very complicated relationship. And I wish I can go back and tell him some of the things that I learned now. Is that I waited. Like, the one thing that he never messed up on, like, he messed up as a parent on a lot of things, but I knew that I was loved my whole life. I never questioned that. And he just didn't know how to be the dad that I needed, right? And so this has a lot to do with being successful and being happy in your job and being happy in your circumstance. I learned it a day too late. I learned it, literally, I got the phone call from my sister that he had passed, and I learned it right there. It was like God just put this into my brain. And what it was is, I was waiting for him to say sorry to me. I was waiting for him to apologize. And I realized that there's no apology necessary from anybody in the world. And it all starts with me. I give the forgiveness, and if the apology never comes, it doesn't matter, because resentment just burns you up. And you can apply that to business as well. You can apply that to anything. If you have some sort of animosity that you're holding on to, you're gonna be ineffective always. There's just no way to get around it. Anxiety, stress over time will always turn into animosity. Once you get to the point where you have animosity, there's no way to get through that unless you can let it go. And so if I could go back in time, I would have just forgiven my dad. And I mean, I have now, like, I'm at peace with it now, but I wish that he could have seen me become the man that I am now the day after he died, because it would have been a much different relationship, because it wasn't predicated on anything he did. So the advice I would give, if you're in a business that you don't necessarily love, one, I would say pivot and change that. If it's unavoidable, you have a mortgage, car payments, and a family, I would say change your perspective on your environment. And just try not to harbor animosity to anybody. Just kind of get over it and move on and try to find the best in every situation. I mean, we know in life, the way our system is set up, you have to work. It's unavoidable. You have to work hard, but you don't have to be miserable when you're there. That's all internal. No one else can control that but you.
Thanks for saying that. That's really, really powerful. I'm sure a lot of people can use that advice.
I hope.
Including me.
I hope so. I mean, it's a tough lesson to learn. And I mean, that's kind of been my mission over the last couple of years. Is I talk to the young men in here, and I'm like, stop waiting for your parents to apologize. I mean, you were gifted life by them, and we're waiting on something, some magical thing. And when they say sorry, if you haven't come to peace with it ahead of time, it's not even going to change you. It starts with you. Make amends. I mean, here's a trippy thing that I didn't realize until my dad died too. There is going to be a day when I cease to be a son. At some point, my mom will be gone, my dad will be gone, and I won't be a son anymore. And if you wait until that moment happens, then you're in big trouble.
How does a jiu-jitsu match mirror the risks and rewards of running a business in the real world?
To me, those parallels are exactly the same. So, for example, the individual sport aspect of jiu-jitsu, this is why it's easy for me to sell a membership. When I'm telling you our membership prices and I'm trying to get you to sign up, to me, in my mind, I'm thinking you should be paying me $1,000 a month, because what you're coming here is to become good at jiu-jitsu. But actually what you're getting is to be good at life. There is a thing that happens when you're a young man. And I'm fortunate enough to have young kids again, right? So I've got older kids and younger kids. And having the older perspective raising children is powerful for me, because I remember when Charlie, my 10-year-old, first started trying to walk, she fell down and busted her head. She got right back up and tried to walk again. And then we get into elementary school and our parents are like, compete, keep competing, and we're learning and we're competing. And then we get into high school and it's compete, learning and competing. And then very few people go on to college and compete. Most of us are going to join the workforce. So the workforce is not designed for the bottom 10% and the top 10%. So if you're terrible at your job, you're gone. If you're too good at your job, you're also gone too, because middle management is going to be threatened by you. So what happens over the course of the next 15 years of your life, you go from 18 to, let's say, 25, something like that. You learn to be incredibly average in corporate America, because average is not a threat to anybody. Average is not going to get you fired. So you're not going to try to be the outlier because you don't want management against you. You're not going to be the outlier on the bottom end so you get fired. So you're doing just enough to get the job done. And that is an absolute terrible way to live your life. So then you come into jiu-jitsu and then you remember, like, oh shit, I can be great at something. And jiu-jitsu encourages you to be the best that you can be. And the competition factor of jiu-jitsu, if you don't put in the work, you won't win. There's no one to blame. If you play football and you had a terrible game, the other 10 teammates you have could have had awesome games and you still win. So you walk away with the feeling of success, even though you had a terrible game. In jiu-jitsu, there's none of that. What you put in is what you can expect to put out. And even if you try your hardest and you prepare the best, 50% of the time, you're probably going to lose anyway. If you apply those same principles to business, if you work hard, if you're the first one up and the last one to sleep, and you're doing all your follow-ups and your follow-throughs and you're cultivating a good culture in the gym, you're going to be successful over time. And it's the same as jiu-jitsu. You're going to lose, but you're also going to win. And if you do things the right way, you're going to win more than you lose, hopefully. Same thing in business. And I think that the parallel between jiu-jitsu and business is almost identical. Literally what you put in is what you can plan on taking out. It's just like an ATM. You can't go to the ATM and take out money if you're not putting money in there. And so business and jiu-jitsu, very much the same.
How long did it take you to learn that?
This is a lifetime. It's weird now being 51 years old. I have a hard time because 25 to 35, 40, those are all just 1 year to me now. So I can't really pinpoint when I learned it or how long I learned it. All I know is that I'm here now and I feel like I know that stuff now. And I'll go into business with anybody. You ask me to go into business and I'm just gonna say like, okay, let's do it. But you have to be prepared to outwork me. And you being able to outwork me is impossible. It just can't happen. Just like parenting. I have a guy in here, one of my fighters. His name is George Alcala, and I've had him for many years, and he's a dad, and he's an incredible dad to his daughter. And I put a lot of heat on him. I go on his stories every day, and I look at his stories of him spending time with his daughter, and I'm like, I'm gonna up that. There's no way that I'm gonna let him be a better dad than me, and he feels the exact same way. And what that competition has done is it's driven us to just be amazing, especially with our time. You know, we all fail as parents, and all of our kids are gonna take exception with some of our parenting tactics. But the one thing for sure that we will never let happen is that they will never be able to say they didn't know that we love them and we didn't give them time.
How do you know if a fighter has it or doesn't?
So for me, I believe you can build skill. There is a certain level of athleticism you need to have coming into it in order to get to the highest level. So if you're trying to be a journeyman fighter, my advice to you is just don't do it. Just don't do it. CTE is a real thing. Athletic injury is a real thing. But if you have the kind of athletic attributes that it takes to get to that level, then I will start the process of like, okay, you can actually do this. And it all comes to drive and heart. If you don't have the drive and heart, I can never teach you that. I can never teach you to not tap to strikes and ground and pound. I cannot do that. That all is God-given. You were born with that. The skill building, that's a whole separate thing. I could take anyone that's got heart and a good baseline athleticism. Like if you think about Usain Bolt when he was winning the gold medal every single year, the difference between first and fifth place in the Olympic sprinting is only like 100th of a second or maybe 200ths of a second. So at the elite level, you have to be fast. You have to be strong. But the thing that I cannot make you do is show up early to training and stay late. I cannot teach you to be gritty and tough. Julian Erosa comes to mind. He's a freak athlete, but there is nobody that has more dog in them than that guy. And he's squeezed the most out of his athletic ability and out of his heart, and he's carved out a really nice career in the UFC. And that is like pretty much the marker that I'm looking for. Like, will you ever have the heart as a guy like Julian Erosa? Probably not. But if you could be approximately in the same area as him, then I know you can go places. He starts to flatten me out. He's got my heels against my ass, right? Obviously, he's not going to do too long. Pull him up, and I kick him away.
As a coach, how do you cultivate or squeeze that quality out of a pro athlete?
So the easiest way to answer this question, and I talk to young men about this all the time, is I say it works better if I describe it from a father and a husband's perspective. So as the head of household, I'm a traditional man. As the head of household, my job is to create the vision and then not just sell the vision to my wife and my family, but to get them to buy into the vision. Selling the vision is one thing. Forcing somebody to believe the vision that you've created for them is another thing. But actually getting them to wholesale buy in, that's the real thing. So as a coach, as the head of household, your number one job priority is to create a vision that people can trust, they can smell it, breathe it, feel it, and they can actually buy in. And I would never do this to my wife, but Inception comes to mind. You make the vision so attainable and so realistic and tangible and achievable that they actually buy in. And then in a weird way, in like 5 years, that vision was never my vision. That vision was their vision. And then all of a sudden, it's just really easy to stay on the same page. So to translate that to fighting, you got to let them know what's actually realistic for them. Like, I'll tell my fighters, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. This guy has the skills to beat you. And this is what we need to do to mitigate those risks. And we have to create the vision that they can see and they can feel. And I believe coaching really only impacts about 1 or 2% of a fight. Most of that is those guys going out there and do that. And I feel that coaches just in general feel like they're a little more valuable than they are. My coaching happens in the room and in between rounds. You know, it may just be one thing. Chito Vera versus Brad Pickett. He had just come off an elbow surgery. We took that fight on 10 days notice. We were in Orange County. It was like a Sunday, and we traveled international 10 days. And we were on the plane like on Tuesday, heading to England. And it was late in the fight, going into the third round. And Colin Oyama and I think Colin's one of the best MMA coaches in the world. And Colin was like, Chito, you gotta wake up, you're gonna lose this fight. And I saw that Chito had kind of checked out. And at this time, Chito's family was still in Ecuador. And I was trying to get in there. I was like, I gotta say something. And Colin was like going at it. And I always acquiesce to Colin. When he's saying something, I stay quiet. He's got way more experience than I do. And he's an amazing coach, and he knows exactly what to say. And I knew that I was gonna have to wait for them to say seconds out. And I wasn't giving him any coaching advice at all. And he was kind of looking up at the vision board during the timeout in the round. And they come seconds out, and they grab the stool, and they're like pushing us out of the cage. And I remember just backhanding him in the chest. And I was like, Chito, do this for your fucking family. And he looked at me and just stone cold just looked at me and said, yes, coach. And he knocked him out with a head kick.
Oh, huge head kick there from Vera.
So sometimes just understanding your fighter and creating the vision. And I still believe Chito's gonna be the champion someday. I really do. Like, he's got everything it takes. He's a dog. He's got the crazy cardio. He's very athletic, very dynamic. And right now he's getting a little long in his career, but he really believes in the vision that he can be the champion. And that's why I think it's gonna be attainable for him.
It all kind of goes together, doesn't it?
It does. Life is all the same thing.
At 3 minutes, 50 seconds of round number 3, declaring the winner by TKO, Marlon Chito Vera.
If somebody came off the street who walked in here, how would you describe the essence of jiu-jitsu to them, and what makes 10th Planet so different from all the other jiu-jitsu gyms?
Okay, so this is a multi-level answer to this question. So, number one, when I started this thing, this was, it's been 15 years since I opened my first academy. And I was like, okay, so what is my key mission? Culture is number one, right? Self-defense is number 2. Health and fitness is number 3. And the 4th most important thing on my original business plan was jiu-jitsu. And I feel that if you accomplish all 3 of the things ahead of it, you will get great jiu-jitsu by byproduct of those 3 things. And so I have a personal beef with major sports teams. And I'm under the disposition that most people are working a job that they don't love. And they're driving a car that they can't quite afford. And they're going home to a mortgage that they can't afford, to a woman that they're not exactly in love with anymore. And I view my mission on this planet is to keep them from getting a 6-pack of beer and watching a Laker game. That is the only difference between me, or between them coming into the gym or going home, is the gym that we've created and the culture that we have. And so typically when I'm signing someone up who knows nothing, I'm like, you come for the jiu-jitsu, but you stay for the life experience. And I take a personal attack if you opt to go watch Monday Night Football and you don't come and train. So that's where culture comes in, is because we need to have a predictable experience every time. We're gonna have the music on, it's gonna be really light. You don't have to bow to me when you come on the mat. When you come in here, it's like Cheers. You're coming into the bar where you know everybody, and this is where you wanna be. And I feel that it takes about a year for someone to really just dive in to jiu-jitsu and stay over time. And just like we circle back to the consistency over time thing in business being successful, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu too. So it's my job to keep you engaged until you become addicted to jiu-jitsu. And then you can just sit back and watch your parenting get better, your relationships get better, your financial control gets better. Because I realize there's a huge financial commitment to jiu-jitsu, but that's not even the biggest commitment. It's the time commitment. You got to tell the people that love you that you're going to train twice a day. And everyone thinks it's only an hour and a half long class, but it's 30 minutes to get ready. It's 20 minutes to drive here. Then it's 90 minutes on the mat. Then it's 20 minutes home. And then your family's like losing you for 4 hours. So in order to really utilize this time and actually like take that time away from your family, you have to love it. So I would say come for the jiu-jitsu, then you're gonna become familiar with everybody. You're gonna love the process of training, and then everything's gonna get easier from there. And you're gonna get good jiu-jitsu byproduct.
As you scale up, how do you keep that mindset and culture at the gyms when you're not there?
So this comes actually pretty easy to me because I feel like I'm a good talent scout and I feel like I'm a good developer of talent. And so having 3 gyms is nothing to me. At one point in 2020, I had 8, and I still have one in Tucson. I've got a kickboxing gym in California. And then I've got the 3 locations here. So the way my brain works is as soon as I'm meeting somebody, I'm assessing them. And I'm like, okay, he can or he can't. And then I try not to put people in buckets, but I do. And I'm like, okay, this guy can. And then the development starts right away. I'll refer back to Matt Salinas. You know, I knew on day 1 that he was going to be the guy. Right away when I shook his hand, I was like, man, you have everything that it takes. And so because I do a really good job at creating culture and then developing talent, like for example, Derek Rayfield, I've been training him since he was 11 years old. When I moved here in 2015, he moved here with us. He lived in my house. He went to high school here. He wrestled on the same team as my daughter, Abby. They went to college together at Baker University in Kansas. They wrestled there. He's never really had his own program. He fills in for me when I'm out of town. But at the new Southwest location, he's the head coach over there. And I pulled up to his Monday advanced class and I watch him teach. And he does everything the exact same way I would, with his own spin. But like the things coming out of his mouth, what he's looking for, his delivery mechanisms for the technique, it's all the same. And I never actually taught him that. I just took him and put him in the culture and he developed within it. So when you have a strong culture, it's very easy to culturally keep things the same. Because as much as your students want to be different than you, just same like a dad and a son, like I want to be different than my dad. And it's like, you're more similar than different at the end of the day. So building culture at multiple locations is pretty easy, as long as I can place one of my coaches that has been with me for a while in there.
Do you think that the students rub off on new people that come in here and embrace the culture and follow that?
That's what we strive for. We strive to get the students to buy in to the whole thing, like the rising tide floats all boats. No man's an island. You can't prepare for ADCC alone in your garage. You need to have training partners. One of the unique things that happens here is I was a high-level coach for a long time. I had a ton of UFC talent. So the culture was always train hard, but you need to realize that these guys are coming off their 4th training session today. So even though you see Merab Dravishvili in here, and you're really good at leg locks, and he's only focusing about maybe 16th% of his time on jiu-jitsu, if you repeatedly leg lock this guy and you break his ankle, he can't fight, he can't make money. So I've always had this culture, no, we're gonna try to beat him up. We're gonna try to like out-grapple him for sure. You're gonna actually try to win, but we can't break people. And so I think that the students see that because they were new once too, and they see how much care we give them and how good they get so quick, and they never got broke. I can tell you this, in Vegas, we've never had a broken arm where someone was trying to tap somebody or a broken leg We've had athletic injuries, like in a wrestling situation where someone posts the wrong way, but our students take pride in being able to submit you without actually hurting you. Very controlled, slow breaking mechanics with a high focus on controlling the position and then getting to the break. And even you'll see it in here, like one of our senior guys will be going with like a new guy, have him in a heel hooking position, and then be like, here you should tap. You know, this is where you should tap. And then there's always like a follow-up to that. It's like, so the senior students, like Rich is very good at this. Like he'll put you in a breaking mechanic, you don't tap, he'll tell you should have tapped, and then he'll give you the solution to the problem that he put you in. And so, yes, it's very easy for our students to trickle, but there's no force mechanism where I say, hey, you guys are blue belts, you got to take these 5 white belts under your wing. It's more like a collective thing where everybody does it.
You've brought up a couple times where you meet someone and you automatically know that they're good or they got potential, or if there's somebody you want to be around. How do you develop that, or is that something you've always had? What is that exactly? Where do you think it's happening?
Well, I'm very fortunate that in my job careers, I've worked for 2 major corporations. And I was at a very young age, I was pushed into a management capacity, very young, way before I was ready. And one of the things that always held me back was I was super aggressive. So you can get promoted to a certain level if you're an aggressive guy and you're the guy that's getting things done. All the bosses, the big bosses, love guys that can get things done. And so I spent quite a few years as like a lower level manager, just ramming my head into the wall. And then again, this is a different promotion on a different time as a younger man. I was working too hard. And so when you are the manager and you have the wrench in your hand and you're doing all the work, all your subordinates are taking it easy, you're doing all the work. So very young, very early on in my career, I realized that I can get more done by managing my subordinates. So with that change in thinking, then it was all about empowerment. It was like, okay, so now I'm managing these guys, and when I tell them to do it, they're doing it at a high level. But now I need to go back to that, creating the vision and selling the vision. And then so I started to create a bunch of subordinates that didn't need me. I empowered them. And I made myself obsolete in that position. And so like I could just cruise and everybody would just get done. So I would say like, here's your tasks for the day. I'm gonna leave it up to you to get them done on time. This is what I need. And then I use stretch goals a lot too. So if I know you can achieve 10 things on that list, I'm gonna give you 15. And if I give you 15, you're gonna strive very hard to get done 13, and I'm happy. And then you feel accomplished. And then my need to 1 minute manage you just starts to evaporate over time. And so developing that is kind of how I treat all my students here. It's like, especially the ones that I think can be coaches, I just start to give them responsibility and I start to empower them. And I have one saying, just don't sell the farm. Like you have, if you're in a position and you have a key in this gym, you have the authority to make all the decisions that I can make. I give you that authority, but the one thing you cannot do is break the law or be unethical or hurt somebody. Like that's the one thing, those are like the 3 things you can't do. Everything else other than that, I trust you in this position. You don't have to call me to ask me. Just make the decision. And then the caveat to that is you're gonna get 1 of 2 conversations from me. You're gonna get, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Or you're gonna get, man, that was such a great decision, good job. And so just always keep that in mind when you're making decisions, is what's the follow-up conversation between you and I gonna be like?
I guess what I was asking though is like, when you were saying like you meet someone who knows, where do you think that comes from?
It came from that experience. I'll expand on it. So once I started seeing my subordinates not as subordinates but teammates, and like just we're all just trying to achieve the same goal, it started to become very apparent to me over the years, what are the traits in a guy that can actually do this job and do it at a high level? And any good manager is trying to make themselves obsolete. That's what you should do. And so for me, having all those years, I mean, it started at 21 years old, I became a manager. And all those years of kind of taking this approach where it's like, let's empower these guys. I saw people fail. And then what I started to do is look for pattern recognition. So like, why did the guy fail? Oh, it was because of this, or it was because of that. And it usually just comes down to commitment and work ethic. And it's the same with fighting. You could take away commitment and say heart, and work ethic would be drive. And those are the things that you're looking for in a fighter. As an employee and a business owner or a leader, that's what you're looking for. Did you guys see that little action? You can go with double overs, or you can go with these grips, right? You want like over.
What do you want the legacy of 10th Planet to be when you retire or you're no longer here?
Well, as a gym, we want to be known as a very high level, high competitive gym. So from the outside to jiu-jitsu people already that are already training jiu-jitsu and they're in the industry already, I want them to know that we are highly competitive and we're going to make it happen. For the people that are here, what I want them to know is you come here for jiu-jitsu and you just get better at life. And we built a great community. And I feel a tremendous responsibility to one of my best friends. Like I love him to death, Eddie Bravo. I feel a tremendous amount of weight to kind of move his legacy forward. He's got a son, and his son one day will take over the organization when he fades off in the distance. And it's my job, it's my personal mission to create a brand that's going to be here way after we're gone.
How did you cultivate the relationship with Eddie Bravo where he trusted you like you trust your coaches?
Our process was great. I didn't meet Eddie until I was deep into my brown belt. And I come from a very traditional, no cross training. This is how they do it. Any new stuff was bad stuff. And it was great because my fundamentals are solid. And it was because my original instructor was so strict. But I thought jiu-jitsu back then was like oppressive, and it was like hidden and closed, and it wasn't open and free. And I eventually had a falling out with my first instructor, which I don't recommend to anybody, but I went through it myself. And then I started cross training. And then I'll never forget the first time I went up to Hollywood to train with Eddie. I asked him a question and he was like, "Does that work for you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hell yeah, that's good." And I was like, "Oh my God, jiu-jitsu is free and it's open." And it was almost like someone just opened the blinds on a dark room and all this light and air came in. And I just remember at that moment thinking, like, this is the kind of guy I need to be with, because he may not even know it, but his philosophy on like having students and being a jiu-jitsu instructor is very similar to like some of my core principles. And we don't agree on everything. I'll just put that out here now. But on the core principles, we agree a ton. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start training with the source. So I started training with Jean-Jacques. And then I asked Jean-Jacques one day, "Hey, Jean-Jacques, what do you think about this?" And you know what he told me? "Does it work for you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's all, "Then it's good." And I was like, I get it. And so it was really easy for me to buy into Eddie. And because I'm just a responsible guy, fun fact, I know I say this almost on every podcast, I've never been high in a gym ever. And I own the most 10th planets than anybody. And I've never been high in the gym. And Eddie knows that I'm a responsible businessman and I'm a responsible father and I have a loving wife. And for him, it's just safe. It's safe for him. He knows I'm not going to get him in any trouble or do anything stupid. So he believes in me and he trusts me. And I think it has to do with how I conduct myself.
I would assume so. If you could talk back to yourself in your old career, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Now I'm going to start sounding like my mother, and I'm going to say, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. You know, and all the hard times that I went through in corporate America and as like a young man trying to figure it out and learn, it's all brought me to this point. So I don't have any regrets. I wouldn't really even try to change the way that I do things because all roads led to here right now. And I can honestly say, sitting in front of everybody listening and watching, that I am absolutely 100% happy with where I ended up. And but the one advice I would give, I would have had a lot more rested nights had I not sweat the small stuff. I tend to want everybody to like me. And in a world where you're moving things and you're making things happen, a lot of people are not going to like you. And you just cannot get caught up in that. Don't sweat the small stuff. Stay authentic and genuine and just keep on trucking.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Never.
Well, maybe you should, because a lot of the things you're talking about, your personal philosophies, could help a lot of people, you know?
My problem with that is like, who the hell would read it? You know, it's just like, I don't, like, one thing it makes me very uncomfortable is occasionally like someone will come to me and they'll be like, oh my God, dude, you're a legend. And it's like, no, I'm very average. I am not accomplished in many things. I've been next to some very amazing people in my career. And I feel like, I mean, I still get this. I wake up like imposter syndrome. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, man, I hope nobody ever finds out that I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of moving through life, just trying to be cool. I tell like the young guys a lot, what's cooler than being cool? Just be cool, you know? And that's pretty much how I live. I try to treat people fair, you know? But yeah, writing a book just seems completely beyond anything that I'd be comfortable doing.
I think that's probably why you should do it, to be honest. Because if somebody writes a book about how great they are, it comes off as pompous. And as I'm talking to you, I'm learning about you and a lot about your philosophies. I think you really could help someone. So keep that in the back of your mind for a few years.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Lastly, what is one thing you've learned on the mats and from coaching that nobody can take away from you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So on the mats, I've developed a philosophy, and I wish more coaches would do this themselves. So I say this all the time. I have no losing period when I'm on the mats. If you tap me, it's because I'm good. If I tap you, it's because I'm good. So my goal is to empower people. And so I'm not happy until you actually tap me. And I'm not giving easy taps. Like, you got to actually get it. Like near break. I've probably been choked unconscious more than any other human in the world. You know, like if you get me in a choke, you have to put me to sleep. If it's not going to break, I'm not going to tap. I go to sleep at least a couple of times a month. And so what I've learned on the mat is A, that I'm not that good. B, that I can teach jiu-jitsu at a very high level. And what was the second part of the question?
The full question is, what is one thing that you've learned on the mats and from coaching that nobody could ever take away from you?
Okay, so learning A, that I'm not that good, which is really good for men to know, because it's the people that don't know how good they are that are the biggest threats in public. I'm not trying to get in a fight with anybody. I already know what that's going to look like, and it's not going to be good for anyone. So I've learned a tremendous amount of restraint. And there's a weird thing, like in the human pecking order, it's kind of good to know your place in that pecking order. People just start to act right. I say this to guys all the time. They should 100% legalize assault and battery. It should be completely legal. If someone's on the freeway and they flip you off and they brake check you and you politely follow them to their house, they get out of their car and you slap them in the face and you put them in their place. The cops come, what happened? He brake checked me, he flipped me off, so I slapped him. There would be so many more nice people out there. Think about the cowboy days when everybody walked into a bar and they had a gun. What's the one thing that comes to mind? Everybody says, howdy do. Like, I see you, you see me, I have the potential to kill you, you have the potential to kill me, and we don't want to die tonight, so keep everything. So one of the most powerful lessons you can ever learn on the mat is your pecking order, where you belong, where you stand. And Yeah, that's what I learned. And as far as coaching goes, I realized that if you build a team, you can accomplish a lot. And so we've had a ragtag bunch of coaches, and we're fighting on the biggest stages in the world, for belts. We've done it in the UFC. We've won the PFL title twice with Lance Palmer, Davison Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez. Those are amazing experiences. And let's scale out, let's just use the 155-pound division. In the history of the UFC, I don't know this to be a fact for a number, but let's say there's 20 champions since the first UFC kicked off. 20 people have achieved the highest level, and they're not more special than anybody else. They were able to build division, build a team, and make it happen. And coaching has made me realize that you can't do it alone. You have to have a team, and you have to all be on the same page and work for it. And we've gotten to the highest highs and the lowest lows. And I would never, I'm a retired coach. I don't coach fighters anymore. I want to focus on my own kids. Shameless plug, my 10-year-old Charlie is one of the best golfers on the planet. And I've just taken everything that I've learned from coaching and I've applied it to them. And all of my fighters understood why I retired. It was like, I can't travel 3 weeks a month anymore with little girls. I'm not going to do it again. And so the coaching has really helped me be a better father, a better leader.
Casey, thanks for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate it. I learned a lot about you and your philosophies, and I think I and everybody can apply them to life in general. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate you.
Thanks for watching Untitled Interview. If you liked the conversation you just watched, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested, there's lots more just like that right here.